What is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome into another live stream here. We're just getting this kicked off here. Just want to make sure everything's looking good. So, if you can hear me, see me, everything, let me know that everything's okay. Let me know that you can hear me and see me, please, in the live chat. You know me, I don't like to make assumptions these days. It's literally like, if I make an assumption that it's fine, that will be the day it goes wrong. So I'm just going to do the right thing. I'm going to do my checks before getting started here. But welcome on in, everyone. Can see and hear everything perfect. Very, very good. Very, very good. Shout out to Chris V8 in the live chat saying smash up those likes so he gets to the point without having to ask. Ladies and gents, you know the deal. Smash them up. Smash up those likes. Let's get this thing up to 50. We'll kick this stream off here. We won't necessarily wait, but I do want to wait for a couple people to kind of trickle in because it does take some time for people to kind of start discovering that a live stream is going on. And then everyone wants me to repeat stuff, so we'll just wait 2-3 minutes. That's kind of the easiest way to do this. But welcome on in, everyone. Let me know where in the world you're watching from and how we're feeling about the market. It is a little bit bearish right now, so let me know how we're feeling about that. We're 25 likes away from we're about 20 likes away. So let's see how we fill that up. One sec here. I might have... I'm not technical enough for this shit, though. I'm 24, and some of this tech makes me feel like a boomer sometimes. I can't even lie. I'm sorry, guys. It might be buffering this time. I think I fixed it. What's going on, guys? Welcome into the stream. Is the stream health good? Is it buffering? Let's see what we got in the live chat here. How are we feeling today, ladies and gents? XRP is trash. Abby says we're tired of winning to Trump. Oh, you legend. Fish0 says we see you, we hear you. Thank you very much. Bill Brower says thanks for going live. Of course, Bill. I'm very, very happy to go live. James is from Oregon. He's feeling bearish. Ricardo from Alaska, Wisconsin. Peterson is from Brazil and feeling broken. What's going on, James? Welcome to the stream. Why is Tom Lee still confident we'll see 165 by end of year? Hey, that's not inconceivable. That's plus 65% within about 45 days. And it's historically the most bullish 45 days of the year. So I definitely wouldn't rule something like that out. No buffering? Good. Good to know. Good to know. Israel says it's hard to be patient this time. Why is it hard to be patient right now, dude? Jersey Channel Island. What's going on? What's up, Alex from Portugal? How you doing, Alex? Welcome to the stream. Good to see you here. We're 5 away from 50. Thank you all very much for smashing those likes up. Let's take a look at what this market is doing. As usual, I'm not going to start with Bitcoin. I'm going to start with the S&P 500. And the S&P 500 is currently open, and it is doing pretty well. It's kind of one of the better case scenarios I outlined, that we kind of come toward the bottom of this range and then bounce. Obviously, this was a bounce zone, this was a bounce zone, and it just kind of like made up another one toward the bottom of this range, which makes sense. The S&P does tend to bounce off pretty light levels. It's great to see this recovery. It's not being reflected everywhere, but futures are obviously a tiny bit more optimistic. So that's definitely pretty good. Bart says he's bullish as fuck, but he's already 99% deployed. Dude, I am in the same exact boat as you, dude. I've been maxed out on this shit for years, bro. If I could, I would, but I can't. You know what I'm saying? So I totally get it, bro. I totally get it. Daveen from DC, what's going on, Daveen? I hear there's a big meeting here tonight for the government shutdown. Well, best of luck with that. I hope they do pull their shit together and get back to work. Poor government workers. God forbid they do have to show up to work a little bit, work with each other. But Yeah, a couple of the stocks I'm interested in holding up here. I mean, Tesla looks phenomenal in these kind of ranges. This is definitely something I've been liking the look of. Stocks looking good as well. But let's move over to Bitcoin here and really look at what Bitcoin's doing. Smash up those likes if you haven't done so already. Thank you all very much for tuning in with us here today, ladies and gents. We do have Bitcoin now falling back down to the low $100,000 range. Oh, man. I gotta refresh this. Oh, one sec. Oh, no, I don't. We're good. Okay. So, Davina, I have a chart to submit for Roast My Chart. Go ahead and send it over on Telegram. And we can take a look at that. Let's start off with Bitcoin here. So, Bitcoin, it got this bounce off 99K. It punched in a slightly higher low at 99 again. And again, just now we've basically bottomed out at 100,800. We're obviously, forming a continuation pattern right now. I mean, whether it gets defended is kind of to be seen, and that would be, really, really nice if it does get defended, because it kind of confirms something really big for us, which I'll get to here in a moment. But if we take a look at, some of these kind of continuation patterns that Bitcoin has pulled off here in this range, it's definitely done a few, and it's clearly doing one right now. So these are pretty much always bearish, especially if they happen inside of downtrends. And, I mean, we've seen this constantly, I mean, just to, really, really make it clear. I mean, this one was like a super steep one, but this is still something. And then we get smaller ones, we get slightly bigger ones. But this is very, 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 very typical, kind of behavior for Bitcoin. And essentially all I'm saying here is that, in a sense, we're kind of trending down, and then, to varying degrees, we kind of pull off these, kind of reaction rallies, you can call them. And so, we're definitely in one right now, and we're in one at effectively, the floor for this market, at least for where we are at the moment. It's actually kind of hard to say and pretty subjective, because really looking at this entire range, because we haven't really left this range yet. We have our point of control right above where we are right now, and that's probably because of recent price action. And then we've got another nice big block of support down here at 97K. Do you know what I'm saying? So, and then our value area low comes in at 93, which is also where the Fibonacci retracement is. If I show you the Fibonacci retracement here, take a look at this. So the golden pocket is literally right where the value area low falls, which I think is so poetic. Welcome into the stream, everyone, as you are tuning in. Let me know where in the world you're watching from, and let me know how you're feeling about the market. You bullish, bearish, scared, pissed off? What's going on? What's the vibe today? Let me know in the live chat. Obviously, we'll be reading every single one of your comments, and if you haven't already, smash up those likes. Thank you very much for pushing us past nearly 60 here. Really do appreciate that. Golden pocket right here, value area low. There's a lot of things that line up with this chart falling down there. And so, with this kind of bearish pattern, I mean, really all it takes is a kind of confirmed drop below, call it a daily close, call it a couple of percentage points down, whatever kind of metric you have to evaluate it. I don't really think it matters, because there are so many fake outs. So, I don't think it's that crazy, but definitely, it does look like it is primed to drop lower. Now, if it doesn't, and if it actually just kind of goes sideways from here, then we're sending a pretty powerful message that, essentially, steep drops are going to get defended here. And I don't know if the bears will be able to keep Bitcoin suppressed under 106 if we get another bounce off this level, especially considering that we've already tried testing the highs here. It might be that there's more liquidity to grab up here, and that might still result in a down move. That's also super typical. But we'll have to evaluate it when we get to this point, right? Because the picture will keep changing. That's why we come here live, do these streams, do these videos whenever there's, something to cover here. And obviously, if you are subscribed to the channel, then you're going to know all about that. You're going to be able to kind of tune into all of that, which is so powerful here. So really, really cool stuff. But that's Bitcoin right here. If it does end up kind of holding, then, you know, the thing that's complicated about this range, right, is now let's say that we're in a totally different price range. Let's say that the price range we're in is this one right here. Like here, Bitcoin goes sideways for 7 months. And it's inside of this super, like, easy to digest range. And literally, I mean, from the point that we enter this range to the point that we exit is 223 days. That's 7.5 months. And this one's super easy. You know, I mean, we have essentially a resistance level. It lines up with previous resistance from earlier in 2022. And so we get pretty hassle-free bounces off support, right? And that's what really enables the market to rise up. And this is kind of where we're at, you know, with Bitcoin right now. Like, Bitcoin right now is kind of just doing what it's done previously. Now here, this one was interesting because this one kind of started off as a sideways range that looked a little bit like this, right? And so this one was like pretty much like, this is the range. Right, and if we play this forward, like it works. I mean, this really does stick. Look at that. Like it respects the high over there. It respects it again. You know, we're respecting the midpoint as well. Look at the midpoint. The midpoint's being respected. We're respecting the highs again. You know, this completely sideways parallel channel works. And the reason I'm pointing this out is because it works on present day worked on present day Bitcoin up until recently. But there are some striking similarities here that, you know, most people aren't really paying attention to because they want to panic or whatever the hell else they're looking for out of this market. I don't really know. I don't really care. Not my problem. But, you know, what we had here, we go ahead and replay this thing to, like, basically anywhere from here. All right, I messed up my replay on the other chart. But, you know, we essentially had the same thing. Right? Look at this. We essentially had the same thing where it was just a kind of sideways trading range until it's not. And we can kind of see how that plays out over here on the left-hand side of the chart, because up until basically this point, the market had totally respected this range, you know, very, very well. And, you know, I mean, this is a long time to respect the range, by the way. You know, like this is... Let's go ahead and calculate this. From the point that we entered this range to the point that we broke it, it was 120 days. It was a 220-day move. So that's about, you know, just over half. If my math is not... I'm pretty sure it's like just over half of the time that we were actually respecting it. And actually quite a bit more than that. You know, we only really started to fall out of favor with this particular kind of chart setup. Oh, my God. When Bitcoin, like, fell below it here in early August. So, you know, stretching that all the way back, this is more like 150 days, really, with a couple of kind of deviations in between, that Bitcoin really respected this range. Now, the way that the market breaks people's will is by doing stuff like this. And, I mean, I think this is so telling because it's right in front of your face. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's literally right in front of you, you know, and it's kind of hard to deny because of how, like, easy it is to understand, you know? But, like, what Bitcoin is doing right now looks so similar to something like this or this. And these were pretty, you know, like, if our support level for Bitcoin was basically, like, 107, let's call it, like, 107, 108, 107.5, we've now dropped from that low, we've now dropped by 8%. And, you know, some of these deviations measure in more than that. This is a 12.5% deviation. This is a 19% deviation. Pardon me, guys. That was a 19.2% deviation here. And, you know, these weren't quick. This was a 12-day deviation. This one in total to really get the recovery lasted 45 days. You know, if we zoom out to where Bitcoin is now, we're on the daily chart. It's been about a week. It's been just over a week that Bitcoin has seen basically its drop below 107 here. So, you know, what the market does when it really clearly establishes support, okay? and then it breaks the support here, or here, or here, or here, what the market is doing in each of these situations is it's kind of setting expectations and then it's breaking them. And the part where it breaks those expectations is very painful. If you are alive and you've been paying attention, that is where we still are right now in crypto. Crypto still right now is really suffering from an extremely deflated kind of sentiment here. Let's go ahead and refresh the fear and greed. It's at 24. I don't even think 24 is realistic. I feel like this market's quite a bit higher than that. So I'm just monitoring my connection. It says everything's fine. You guys are not saying anything, so it looks good. Welcome on into the stream, everyone. Let's go ahead and smash up those likes, get this thing above 100. We're only 27 away. Nice and easy work there. If you haven't already smashed them up, definitely go ahead and do that now. But, we've got essentially a lot of will being broken on these moves. And, it wasn't different back here, what we're seeing right now. It's more extreme now. I'll definitely say that. It's definitely like way, way more extreme, the kind of negative sentiment, but it's not actually different. And, if we're even looking for a 20% drop below the support, you know what I'm saying? Like, this can get pretty hairy and still stay okay. 20% down from here still puts us down at 86K. 86K is a pretty important price level on this chart. It's actually the minus 32% correction from the all-time high. If we go down to about 85, that's a 32% correction. And obviously this market suffered a 32% correction from its all-time high to its market low, or to its range low. This was also a 32% drop. And so was this one. Like right here. This one right here. This was also a 32% move. So the market responds to 32% moves. This is twice in a row. And now we're setting up for number 3. I mean, look, it doesn't have to hit a third time, but I don't see anybody talking about it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, nobody's like expecting it. That's a good sign. That's definitely a good sign. So, even if the market does end up dropping here, we're still forming this pattern, and we're not forming this pattern. Like, the only time we're not forming this pattern is if we do something like this and don't recover. So we just kind of keep going down and really get some distance from the range. That would essentially be, for me, that'd mean, Bitcoin like falls down to like, the low 90s or the high 80s and stays there. Instead of like pretty quickly recovering up. And as far as pretty quickly, what's pretty quickly? Well, like I said, this one lasted 45 days. No, 60, 80 days here, because most of the time wasn't actually spent inside of the range. If we really zoom in and take a look at what's going on here, like we lose it here. And then we spend, what is this? We spend 4 days above, but for the most part, we're below this range for 45 days. So that's 40 days that we're essentially deviating. Like, we're still in the same deviation, just ongoing. So it can get pretty shit. Like, this is kind of what I'm saying every time I get on these streams, is it can get pretty shit on the short term. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's fucked on the midterm or the long term. Like, at all. It doesn't. Like, it's kind of just... the problem, and this is still the biggest ongoing problem, is that, Bitcoin needs the stock market to be healthy for Bitcoin to go up. And the stock market is healthy, and Bitcoin isn't going up. So, like, this is a really big problem because the stock market's not going to be healthy forever. And if the stock market is not healthy, in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, it starts doing something a little bit like this, that will really become a problem for Bitcoin. So, like, we're not doing anything when it's sunny, and we're getting punished when it's anything except for very sunny. And we're even getting punished when it's sunny. But if it's cloudy or if it's raining, it's just a bad fucking day for Bitcoin, for crypto. And yet at the same time, I'm just focusing on the facts here, ladies and gents. Bitcoin dominance is not rushing into altcoins right now. Look, it is building. It's building kind of largely in the same ways it's built before, but this time not inside of an uptrend, inside of a downtrend. We're not seeing a massive rush into Bitcoin here. We've seen a couple of spikes. These spikes have resolved themselves and we've fallen back down to equilibrium. Isn't that crazy? Like, we're talking about like swing trades essentially in altcoins here. And, you know, Bitcoin stays relatively stable. This is looking heavy. It's looking like there's speculation that could bring Bitcoin dominance down. And if that does end up happening, that means altcoins potentially start flying. And it's not like they're in a weak position right now. You know, here's Ethereum against Bitcoin, and it literally bounced off the Pico bottom that we called on this YouTube channel. If you were subscribed to the channel, you're going to be very well aware of how much we were talking about this. And it literally pulled off like a 2.5 times gain to get from that low to its high. And it's now pulled back by about 30% from that high. And it's pulling back directly into support. Now, look, a lot of people are going to tell you that these coins are very weak and that the market's in a disastrous situation and whatever. But the fact of the matter here is that this chart is really, really healthy. Okay? Consumer sentiment, retail sentiment, the market psychology that we're seeing play out is not healthy. But that ain't fucking new. That's not a new circumstance in this market whatsoever. What's also not new is that these markets are behaving really nicely, very clean. I mean, the downtrend was fantastic. We're bouncing off every single level of support. We're collapsing below support, only down to the next level where we produce another bounce. Then we're rallying up. We're getting rejected inside of resistance. We're bouncing off interim support. We rally into the next resistance zone. We break resistance and we fly into the next zone. The chart is so healthy. Everything on this chart makes sense, and it's so organic and healthy. So if there is speculation that's kind of starting to creep back into the market here, well, we've got Bitcoin dominance clearly set up for a pretty big rip down, and I think that could result in some really, really nice gains for altcoins. That is if we do start to produce a bounce from here. I know that a bounce feels overwhelmingly unlikely at this stage, but obviously that doesn't really matter because we don't trade or analyze based on feelings, do we, ladies and gents? We do it based on levels. And as far as levels go in this market, you know, we've essentially still got our support level here unbroken. And while it's unbroken, it is still support. And if it collapses, there's a lot more support below. So it's kind of hard to say that this chart is in a particularly bad place. What I don't like is just the fact that we still cannot get our shit together compared to stocks. Now, this doesn't mean that there isn't money to be made in this market whatsoever. There's still so much money that can be made in this market. I really do want to stress this right here with you guys, because a lot of people are going to be looking at this and just feel like it's just completely rid of opportunities right now and there's absolutely nothing worth looking at, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Right here in the description, we've got the enter.brofi.com link, and we are still in pre-launch, but we've been releasing lots inside of BroFi. I've just given another update on my positions and what I'm doing just a number of hours ago, maybe like 10 hours ago. There was just an update in there again on the positions I'm building and what I'm seeing in the market and what I'm planning on trading in detail. And that's obviously coming off the back of the specific private live shows we've done with members of BroFi here. So when you follow that link in the description, that's going to take you to this Get Started button. It is $100. It's super, super cheap right now. The prices will be going up, but right now at $100, it is absolutely sick. So well worth getting yourself inside of. We're not even charging for renewals while we're in early access, so you kind of just pay your $100 and you get in for free. And this is a cool message that we got inside of the group here, because this member basically we put out some like fringe analysis on literally moon cycles. It's so strange, but I wanted to put it on the members' radars because I know that it's got data that backs it. And this dude ended up making a clean 32% profit. Off this, already closed a partial close here. And the good thing about these kind of setups is, regardless of what you are doing in the market, $100 is so fucking ground level cheap that you will pay off that fee super, super quickly. And that's what this person has ended. I mean, there's no guarantees. You could lose a lot of money too, but you know, I mean, it's been quite easy sailing for a lot of people so far to do well after they've joined the group. So definitely well worth getting inside, because we are running these intimate live streams here, trade setup discussions, in-depth Q&As, and we're active in the market. I mean, every time there's movement in the market, we're discussing kind of what's going on and where the plays are and all that good stuff. That's been ongoing inside of the group. So definitely get yourself inside now with this link in the description right here, the pre-launch BroFi link here. If you are curious on getting yourself inside on the other side here, where we've been doing pretty well so far, especially considering that we're still kind of building out the content library. I think a lot of value already here, which is really, really cool. So well worth checking that out. But like I said, support's still unbroken. That means support is still support. Obviously, we did lose this major level of support, and that's not good at all. But, you know, in a world of excessive, you know, deviations from Bitcoin, I just can't really, you know, like, get depressed over this right now. You know, like, it just doesn't look super concerning or unusual to me. Unfortunately, with Bitcoin, you don't really know until it's quite far gone. But if you do try and jump out quickly, then you would have taken yourself out on a move like this at like $50,000. That's crazy. This level is 50K. And, you know, you would have literally missed out on the next 2.5 times gain. That was a 2.5 times gain. Isn't that crazy? So, you know, like, that kind of mentality is not going to get you very far if you're very fear-driven and like, oh my god, the market's not moving up for a couple of months or for a year, so we must be fucked. Like, no, dude. Like, we've been in the bear market. This is the bear market. You know, and you know, once you've had a bear, I mean, sure, your bear market could get worse, but you know, I think we got a pretty clean setup here overall. Seaton said he's fed up, but he's still willing to wait, and he will wait. Most people right now, I think he's saying most people right now probably feel like that. Thank you guys for 100 likes, by the way. Just noticed that. I really appreciate every single one of you guys for smashing those up. That is very, very cool of you. Thank you all very, very much. Yeah, so that's Bitcoin right there. Let's take a look at some of the altcoins. We've already looked at Ethereum against Bitcoin here. Let's look at Litecoin. Litecoin still being a stable coin here for the most part, down a tiny bit, but not doing too bad at all. 𝐁𝐥𝐿 says he loves scary bear markets. Yeah, scary bear markets are pretty good. They're not so hard to trade. It looks like, okay, so Solana hasn't actually lost support here on the logarithmic, but it's definitely, you know, like, I've seen a lot of bear posting about this chart right now, and you know, I can kind of understand why. Like, especially against the dollar, it definitely looks like it can and should come down to about 120 at this stage. I don't think that really matters. I think what matters a lot more is how it does against Bitcoin. And as far as how it's doing against Bitcoin, it's got this really nice long-term support range here. This support level has existed since March of 2021, so that's now well over 4.5 years. And we're still kind of showing that we're respecting it. I mean, this is kind of crunch time right here. Like, we really got to break out if we are going to. You know, it's got to happen around about now, like plus minus a month or two or 3 months or something, but not really too much longer than that. And so this is going to be something very important to kind of keep watching. XRP here is doing pretty well. XRP against Bitcoin is doing even better. You know, just kind of chilling, right? I mean, this isn't really affecting XRP very much, and that's a good thing, you know? I mean, the market's just kind of, you know, like, it's not doing well, yes, but like within that context, it's still holding up, you know, a lot better than I think a lot of other people would have probably imagined it would. Please just be mindful of any spam we get in the comment section, by the way. Sometimes you do get some bots and stuff like that in the comments of these videos and things like that. But that's XRP. Let's take a look at Binance Coin, and Binance Coin's still doing pretty well as well, just kind of hanging out and you know, dropping down a tiny bit here. Binance Coin against Bitcoin, basically doing the same thing. Dogecoin also, they're all in equilibrium, guys. They're all in equilibrium. There's nothing really particularly unique going on here. Gold is rallying up, so that's not what I expected. Oh no, that is what I expected, because I drew the ascending triangle, but I probably did say that I think it's going to go down. Yeah, I did expect it to go down more than this, more than going up, but it ended up sticking to that ascending channel, so good for gold. If it is able to hold on to these gains, and it's already cleared so much resistance, then, you know, 53, 5400 is next. I'm sorry, 43, 4400 is next. And if it's not able to hold on to this level, it now has a really good platform of support at 40k. I'm sorry, at 4k. So this could turn into a really nice kind of potential, you know, at worst something like this. It could still obviously fall straight through, but, you know, at this stage, it's got such a nice zone of support that it's probably going to have to test that support at least once, right, for some sort of a bounce. And that's if, you know, if it stops from here, you know, like it could, but, you know, no matter how high it goes, I think this is a really, really good platform of support that it's now been able to kind of start establishing for itself here on gold, which is absolutely fantastic. So really, really cool stuff. There's definitely things heating up inside of the market here. I've been active in this market. Like I said, I've been taking up positions in this market. Nothing like super aggressive just yet, but I have been taking up positions inside of this market, and every single detail of every single position is shared inside of BroFi VIP right here. So like I said, get yourself inside for $100 if you are interested here. Like I said, pretty low bar, easy to pay off that fee once you do get in. And I will continue to share updates on how I'm progressing with those positions. I think especially, you know, what I'm interested in. I mean, like I said, I have been building stocks as well in my positions, but what I'm a lot more interested in is, you know, where crypto could go from here. This is the kind of opportunity where, like, you really do stand to make a lot of money, right? Like, it doesn't have to happen this way. A lot of people are gonna fuck this up and do pretty badly, but you really you stand to make a lot of money off periods like this in the market, specifically periods like this. And that's kind of what I'm going for. That's what I've been able to do before. It's what I want to do again right now. And it feels good so far. I mean, like, you know, these market drops are not lowering my confidence level at all. You know, it's pretty stable for me. What I've been feeling this whole time has been pretty stable in this market. So I'm definitely excited to see how that continues to go on. And like I said, we're having all of those discussions and putting all those updates straight inside of that Telegram group in BroFi there, which is really, really cool. We did get a request from inside BroFi to take a look at Ethereum USDT, specifically at this drop that we're in right now. So if we do take a look at Ethereum here, it's basically got the exact same pattern as Bitcoin. I'd say it's a little bit more clearly bearish, but it's really the same kind of general, like, you know, fighting the trend, getting ready to move down kind of thing. And then as far as Ethereum on the daily, which I think is a bit more important to look at right now, it's got a pretty decent, like, potential area of support it could grab around here, right? Like something a little bit like that. There's definitely like that's definitely a start. Let me remove this line instead. So we haven't fallen into that range yet. This is probably the equivalent level to Bitcoin at 100k, you know, something like that. But it's kind of just still ranging, huh? Like, it looks like it could do something a little bit like this. And in that case, this turns into a, even this one could be the one that takes off, you know, but this kind of turns into another fake out. So, like, I look at charts like this and I don't find them to be bearish, you know. I don't, like I said, it feels like I'm looking at a different chart because, you know, like, I see Ethereum rallying up to 5k and then pulling back by, yeah, I mean, it's a sizable drop. It's a 40% drop nearly. So, you know, it's pretty steep, but, you know, it's not like Ethereum, like, isn't used to this, you know, like, this happens a lot for Ethereum. I mean, this was a 67%, 65% drop. This was a 70%. Okay, fine. That was a black swan. So, you know, maybe you don't want to pay too much attention to that. But this here was a 50%. Ethereum sees big drops, man, like 50%. These are not, you know, unusual numbers here. What was this one? This was a 44%, and it still basically went back up to the same level. So, you know, like, we got room. Like, this thing could drop, you know, quite a bit more, and it wouldn't be out of character for Ethereum. But then, you know, just kind of looking at it from a kind of just market structure perspective here, I mean, you know, it rallied up to the all-time high. It took literally like 4 years to get back up here. And now, you know, a fraction below the all-time high, everybody is, like, super bearish and, you know, telling you why Ethereum deserves to be dead and why nobody uses it. And, you know, like, sentiment's just in the toilet. And like I said, I mean, you know, like, this is lining up with, you know, literally consolidations at all-time highs. I mean, like, this isn't my first fucking market cycle, you know? Like, I have been here for over 8.5 years now, and I've seen this shit a lot. You know, like, this exact shit that... Like I said, this is by far the most severe I think I've ever seen it, but it's not different. It's the same thing. And it's always resulted in pumps in my experience. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's always, you know? So... yeah, I don't see it. This looks like a pretty good chart to me. It looks like it might need to come a little bit lower, but like you'd be, you know, like you're gonna have to take something quite exotic as far as a drug to be able to visualize me selling in this market right now, because it ain't fucking happening. You know what I'm saying? Like you're gonna have to really be on something. You know, if you want to try and well, you're gonna have to get me on something. You know what I'm saying? If you want to try and convince me that this market's bearish, because I don't fucking see it. I don't see it whatsoever. Everything I'm seeing is making me raise my targets. Everything I'm seeing is making me more bullish, and that's purely because of how strong the market actually is compared to how weak the sentiment is. Like, yeah, okay, your meme coins died, so what? Like, it's fucking crypto. You know, like you're like, if you're buying meme coins, you basically are inside of a casino. So I don't know. It's like, it's not even that surprising, is it? But here, let me see if I can pull up one of these articles here. Bear with. Let's see. They're not even releasing inflation data for October, I think it is. So we'll take a look at that in a second here. But let me go ahead and pull up my... Alright, and can you guys see this? Looks like you can see this. So what we got here, so October jobs, CPI data unlikely to be released, White House says. This is interesting. So the October jobs and consumer price index reports are unlikely to be released due to the government shutdown. How convenient. According to White House press secretary. The Bureau of Labor Statistics and other key statistical agencies stopped producing and publishing economic data during the government shutdown, and some statistics may be skipped entirely. So I don't know how much of this is like a convenient way for the Trump White House to like hide things that are not great, which is definitely what some people are saying, or how much of this is just genuinely true. It seems true. Obviously, if the relevant people aren't working, I mean, if they're not paying employees, you know, then surely they wouldn't be doing this either. The lack of data is leaving our policymakers at the Fed flying blind at a critical period, with Federal Reserve officials set to meet to decide on interest. Isn't it crazy how fucked up the United States is right now? Isn't that insane? Isn't that just absolutely insane? And isn't it more crazy that they're like the least fucked up in the world right now? Like, compared to everyone else. I think that's even crazier. But anyway, October jobs and consumer price index reports are unlikely to be released due to the government shutdown. Democrats have permanently damaged the federal statistical system, with October CPI and jobs reports likely never being released. The Bureau of Labor Statistics and other statistical agencies stopped producing and publishing economic data during the government shutdowns. While economists say some statistics can be retroactively collected and disseminated, there's a risk that others will be skipped entirely. Economists have flagged the CPI and unemployment rate for October as those most likely at risk of not coming out due to how the data underpinning them are collected. The Bureau of Labor Statistics has not released an updated schedule for which indicators will be released and when. It's possible the agency will choose to combine 2 months' worth of data for a particular statistic into a singular release to get back on track. Bureau of Labor Statistics did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The House is poised to pass. Okay, do you know what? None of this is relevant to us. Let's see if there's something a little bit more relevant. But it looks like a kind of slow day for the markets. We'll go ahead and take a look at CoinDesk here and, of course, Twitter. What is this? UK reform leader promises to create a Bitcoin reserve if elected Prime Minister. Bitcoin is scarce, secure, and impossible to inflate away. Unlike paper money, Bitcoin cannot be printed into worthlessness. Interesting. I personally don't care for governments getting involved in crypto. In fact, I'd rather they stay out with their slimy fucking hands. But I do like 𝐁𝐥𝐿𝐴𝐺. I think he's a little bit... What's more fun, UK or USA? Dude, have you been to the UK? Have you seen the UK in the last, like, 5 years? It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. David says some countries shut down and conveniently don't publish data. Other countries just cook the books and we never know what's really happening. And America does both. America does both, David, as we could see. I think everybody... I don't think you're getting realistic data out of anybody, really. But I don't really care for politicians getting involved in my Bitcoin. They can keep their dirty hands out. And that includes Farage. Even though I do love Farage, and I do think that Farage is a fantastic option for the UK right now. He is still a politician, and he is still most definitely a liar. All right. Total quarterly options volume exceeded 3.5 billion contracts for the first time in Q3 2025. Total option contracts have doubled over the last 5 years. Comes as retail investor participation hit a record 55% last quarter, meaning retail now reflects the majority of market volume. Isn't that crazy? This percentage has... This is what I'm saying. Like, we've got, like, the most retail ever. This isn't of conventional markets, but the most retail ever right now. You know, like, it is making the markets behave in like, pretty easy ways to understand. Now, look, crypto isn't quite getting that because crypto has been kind of left behind, but crypto did rally harder originally. So I'm okay to let it have a breather. You know, that's not a big problem to me. This percentage has risen 10 points since 2023. By comparison, the 5-year average has been 49%. Meanwhile, retail flows showed one of the largest buy-the-dip events on record during the market pullback last week, according to Citadel. Retail investors are taking over the option market. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? I don't even know what to make of that. That could definitely be a bad sign. That could definitely be a bad sign. Oh, wow. They got NVIDIA on Hyperliquid now. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. 63% chance House passes bill to release Epstein files. That's crazy, but I'm not sure we're going to see anything from that. But yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot really going on right now. It's just kind of another day. So I think on that note, ladies and gents, I'm probably going to be rounding this one off here. We do have the next weekly BroFi show going live tomorrow. That's going live in like about 24 hours. Like 23 hours from now, we're live inside of BroFi. And we're doing our weekly stream. They're amazing. They're basically... They're similar to this, but in this, I'm talking about analysis and everything like that. In the BroFi streams, I am covering analysis because I can't get away from doing that. I have to cover it a little bit. But I'm actually mainly focusing on the actual precise, specific things I'm doing with my trades and with my investments. And I'm getting detailed about it all. So that's happening tomorrow. I'm very, very excited for that. I'll see you guys inside of BroFi there tomorrow. And like I said, $100. Get yourself inside. You're getting direct access to me. That's the main... I think that's like the main thing that's really, really cool here. I've been able to have so much interaction with... all of the members inside of the group because of how it's still pretty intimate. It is growing, but we're still super small, you know, and that means you're getting pretty intimate access to me as well, and my exact proven tools and strategies that I'm using in the market. Super, super exciting. The whole approach here is we're going to be deconstructing how you view the markets, and then we're going to reconstruct it. Then we're going to weather the storms together right alongside me and a team of proven traders who know how to thrive in turbulence. We've already seen pretty incredible short positions inside of this group. One of our key members here who is kind of like me. There's another guy in the group that you guys are going to be able to talk to and trust. Like he's, you know, like he's as good as I am. He might be better. He's really good. And he has just shorted this really, really well. A couple other members have as well. I personally haven't, but really, really cool. So hopefully you start seeing results with a little bit of luck thrown in there as well. So well worth getting yourself inside here for that $100 entry fee for BroFi. Like I said, we are going to be raising prices up to $500, especially as we release some of the other bigger things like the Journal app. But if you do get inside while it's $100, you are going to have that price lock for 1 full year, which is really, really cool. But with that, ladies and gents, I hope you have enjoyed this stream. You know exactly what to do. If you got any final questions, I'll take them now. Otherwise, I am probably going to be rounding this one off right here. Hajim says, if I was president, how would I solve the so-called affordability crisis in the US currently? Oh my goodness, what a question. What a question. Okay, so what is the affordability question? The affordability crisis. My understanding of this is it comes from the way the economy has been geared for a very, very, very long time. I don't know if there's like a silver bullet, easy way to solve it. There are options like ban certain people from buying or charge them like way more tax if they buy. For example, in America, in certain like areas, you're considered an investor in the property market if you own more than 3 properties, which is pretty reasonable, right? Because if you own 1, you're a normal person. If you own 2, you're a normal person that's got some money. And if you own 3, you're still pretty normal person that's got some money. But if you own more than 3, you are definitely treating it more like an investment at that point. So I think that's a pretty reasonable benchmark. And if that's, investors, individuals, groups of people, institutions, funds, private equity, if you just kind of ban all of them from buying in certain areas, and then you only have it so that like single homeowner people can buy, that would make a big difference. That would make a big difference in rents as well. The problem with all of these things is that when you start introducing government control on who could do what, you now have socialist housing. And if we know anything about how democracy works, when you have socialist anything, you're going to grow the population of poor people in your country because they can rely on the government. And so you're actually incentivized to have them rely on you because you want more people being poor so that you have guaranteed votes when you promise them $2,000 stimulus checks or $1,400 stimulus checks. You want them to be poor. When they're poor, the only person they rely on is you, the government. So, I have a lot of ideas about how I would fix the West, the US, the UK, whatever, if I could. And I don't really think people would like those ideas at first. Really, all of my ideas boil down to very, very, very pure capitalism. Just pure capitalism. I want capitalism. I want a real capitalist country. I've, like the UAE, Dubai, which I'm very proud to, say that I own property in. They're a pretty real capitalist country. They're not even all the way, obviously. You can't be all the way. It's kind of crazy, but they're good. They're really good in the UAE, in Dubai. And that's a real capitalist society, and it works. It doesn't work for people that don't work. If you don't work, if you're not productive, then, you're not really part of the image, but that's not actually different to America. That's kind of how America was designed. The whole point of America was that you come to America, from like the 1700s. You come to America looking for opportunity or whatever, and you do it with the implied understanding that you're going to work. You're going to be productive, and it's the land of opportunity. So through that opportunity, you'll make money. And that's the promise of the whole West. That's the promise of the UK, Germany, France, New Zealand, Australia, everywhere. That's the promise of everywhere in the world. Really, everywhere in the world, that's the promise. And it's true. It works. It still works to this day. But only if you're online, or you're modernizing a legacy business, but with the so it's really difficult due to affordability crisis. Obviously, a big issue is, investors. A big issue is, like you gotta go back. Like, you almost need to like change how the dollar is structured, right? Like you need to peg the dollar back to the gold standard, stuff like that. There's a lot of changes that you'd have to make if you wanna. If you want to really fix the affordability crisis. It's not like, like fix one thing and then it's all done. Hell no. If it was, it would be fixed, right? It's obviously not that. What it is that the whole fucking system is geared to create this problem. You need to fundamentally change the system. And you can't fundamentally change the system because the people who benefit from the way the system is right now will kill you. They will fucking murder you. If you take away your, the source of their fucking children's university in Harvard, and their fancy life, fucking renting yachts and chartering yachts in Miami. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not going to land well with the people that live off this fucking, system. So I don't think it's going to change. I definitely don't think Trump is going to change it at all. You know, he had a chance with the big, beautiful bill, and he just completely fucking ignored it. You know, and he did great stuff. That bill was fantastic in a lot of ways, but it does nothing to fix the real problems of America right now. You know, and if Trump's not gonna do it, a Democrat certainly isn't. You know, like this is at the bottom of the priorities for a Democrat. For a Democrat, they're just gonna introduce communism and kill the country. You know, so you don't really have a good choice, man. You don't really have, like, you need like a fundamental, you know, like almost like a revolution, and that's terrible because then people start dying and there's real poverty. You know, like you don't want that either. So I don't know. And it looks like it's not even our choice, dude. It looks like it's going to be AI. The way I see this going is it's going to be the WEF wet dream, you know, the WEF like manifesto dream that we heard years ago of you will own nothing and be happy. Just everybody's going to be a forever renter, a forever leaser. You're going to rent your fucking driverless car for the day, and it won't even be your car, and it will like come from a, you know, storage facility. It'll drive to your house. It'll be parked on your driveway ready for you for the day, and then you'll just choose on the app that you want it for 12 hours. You know, and it'll drive you everywhere you want, and then when you get to your destination, it'll go off and park somewhere else. It'll go service somebody else. You'll get another car when you're done with your meeting, and then you're, you know, on to the next thing. And so it'll be an economy where nobody's really going to own anything, but they won't really mind because they're going to have so much convenience and easier access. And that was kind of the promise of the WEF for a long time now, you know, and it's clearly the way we're headed, right? Like there's no, like the average home buyer in America right now, I mean, this is the craziest shit I'm going to say on stream right now. I was actually so shocked when I heard this. I only heard this yesterday. The average home buyer in America right now is 60 years old. 60. I mean, if that's not a sign of an economy that's already fucking dead, then I don't know what is. I'm sorry, but 50-year mortgages and 15-year car loans ain't gonna fix it. It's the same perpetual trap. It's actually fucking crazy that anyone's even pretending that we're anywhere near a solution for this. We're not. Nobody is. Nobody's even trying to fix the problem. It's just all like, let's just pile a bit of shit on top of it and make it look a little bit less bad. That's the whole strategy right now. It's actually so over. It's so over. You're not 60 years old. What happens in 20 years when these guys aren't doing anything anymore? Are the current 40-year-olds going to be buying? I fucking hope so, but it doesn't look like it. And shit, you're 40. You should already have a house, you know, if you're 40. And that's not even happening right now for a lot of 40-year-olds in the West. So there's no fix to the affordability crisis. It's just renting your life away and living in a government housing, you know, situation. It's the only way. It's the only way I see this happening. Everyone's going to be living in some sort of like government housing. They're trying it in all of the countries and all of the states that are socialist already. Like California, when they had the fires in LA, it was in the Pacific Palisades, right? And like the really affluent areas. Well, because they're fucking communists, when they rebuild it now, they're pushing to have it rebuilt with low-income housing in the same area. And the whole idea there is community cohesion, right? Like, you uplift the poor people because they hang out with the rich people. And there's real science to that. There are benefits of that. There are also massive drawbacks of that. But, like, there is real data saying that this is a good thing. But really, the objective of it is to dilute areas that vote Republican. You know, you want to move Democrat voters into areas that vote Republican. You know, they do this everywhere. You know, they're doing it they've done it in the UK for a really long time. You know, you want to import left-wing voters into areas that are a little bit problematic when they vote. And obviously all of California is becoming problematic because it's been leaning red for the last few elections. So they're trying to do something about it. So that's what I'm saying. Is like, that's the push. This has been ongoing in Germany for a really long time. It doesn't matter how nice your fancy building is that you're building in Munich right now, or, you know, some other cool city. It will be built with affordable housing inside of it as well. Like, it has to be, like, with government sponsored housing. And I mean, like it's what they're going for. Like they've set the precedent now that you might own property, but you're not in charge of how much you charge. You're not in charge of how much, like you're not in charge of like how it operates. Like everything is so tightly regulated, and it's fantastic for the tenant, but that means you're in a tenant economy now, and tenants can't even afford rent anyway. So, since you asked, let me actually tell you what I think. And I haven't said this publicly yet, but let me go ahead and talk about it anyway. What I actually think we're going to see is you're going to get figures like Mamdani coming in, and they're going to enforce things like rent caps and rent freezes. Now, look, I like the idea of rent freezes if I was like fucking 15 years old, because when I was 15 years old and they were trying to raise rent on my mom, now my mom was a single mom fucking fighting cancer, it was pretty hard for her to keep up with bills, especially as bills kept on rising. So I understand why rent caps are a nice idea, okay? But where we're headed now is, okay, interest rates are high, monthly outgoings are high, maintenance is expensive, tenants are fucking stupid, like a lot of them, not all, not even close, but a lot of them are fucking stupid. And there are costs that a landlord has to absorb because of that. And they can't absorb these costs if they can't stay in business. A lot of them are just being greedy bastards, and that's one thing, and we can talk about that too. But a lot of them genuinely need the money, right, in order to keep, staying in this business. And a lot of them are normal people like you and me that, maybe have a job or have something going on, and then we own a property and we just kind of manage it. And those people, when they realize how hard their job is and how, bound by regulations they are, almost like handcuffs, they don't want to stay in the business anymore, and they end up selling quite often. Or they want to sell, for sure. And so what I think people like Mamdani are going to do is they're going to come in and they're going to make the climate so hostile for landowners, for homeowners, that the homeowners are going to capitulate and they're going to be forced to sell. And if this happens quickly, then it's going to happen against the backdrop of the failing housing market that's already crashing right now everywhere in the West. You go places like Dubai, and you're in a big profit. I'm very happy with where my house is worth in Dubai. It's been a fantastic profit, and I don't regret selling the Bitcoin for it, which is really nice, because I sold the Bitcoin for that house at 57K. It was at the top of the last market cycle in 2021. That's when I sold to buy that dream house. I actually bought it for my mom. And so, like you're not seeing that kind of effect in a place like Dubai, somewhere that people are moving to, or where there's a lot of money being parked up. But everywhere else in the world, including in the West, you are seeing, the housing market in a bad place. And if Mamdani is quick to wreak the havoc that he might wreak, then these landowners, these homeowners are going to start capitulating and going out of business. And if that all happens against this current backdrop of a crashing housing market, then that same crash could get a lot worse. And if that same crash gets a lot worse, the only people that you'd realistically expect, and we're so close to 150 likes, by the way, so smash them if you haven't done so already. But at that point, the only people you would reasonably expect that can still buy property will be investors, and it will be institutions. And so at that point, you have another classic situation where a wealth transfer happens, where there was a lot of wealth held by the middle class in America, but that middle class capitulates and shrinks, and that wealth gets transferred 20 cents on the dollar. So if the house was $1 million, now it's 200K. That wealth now gets transferred into the hands of somebody that's much richer, much more experienced, and does this for a living. And really, it's going to be a group of people. It might be a firm, a private equity firm of some sort. And I don't think that's like a surprise. I don't think that's like a far-fetched theory at all, because we know that Mamdani is a puppet of people like Soros. And we know that he's like just as fucking corrupt and a slave to all of the same forces that any other mayor would be a slave to. Mamdani is a slave to them too. He's just got a nice smile and a communist ideology in his head. But I think he's smart enough to know that he's leading property owners onto the chopping block, and I think he doesn't care, because more people in New York want to rent than landlords that have vested interest in their property. So I think this is one of those situations where just because you've got tyranny of the majority, you've got a democracy for the people by the people. I think just because of that, you are going to see across the whole of the United States, bit by bit, and starting in the most communist places, that ownership is going to be, or already is, such a terrible proposition that those properties will get sold and then transferred into the hands of people that are already much richer than everybody in the world. And we've seen that wealth transfer happen a million times. We've seen it happen with Bitcoin. We've seen it happen with stocks, with gold, with everything. So this is what Jay said in the comments. Like, why would you want to buy in New York after the rent freezes? It doesn't make sense. This is what I'm saying, right? So, now it's going to be the game of people that can absorb these kind of costs, that can absorb these downsides, and that's obviously not everybody. So, that's just another thing that you've got to kind of keep in mind here. With where the market might go. How are we feeling about this, by the way? Because this is not something that I talk about particularly often on the channel, but obviously these are things that I definitely think about all the time. I just don't really tend to bring them here too much because I know that we've got kind of different focuses here. I'm just trying to light up my face a little bit more so that I don't like this. I don't like this. I'm gonna move it back. I'm gonna change the other one. Light up this side. That's better. So I don't know if this is like a bad. I don't know if this is bad lighting or not, but. What's going on? What's going on, guys, in the live chat? I'll stay on for a little bit longer. We got interesting questions here. What's up, James? How you doing, James? Spot on. Yeah, man. I think about this a lot. It's kind of the only thing I think about, and I really think that the drive here is to drive people out of ownership of any sort of asset, because it's the haves versus the have-nots, right? So you're just gonna. I think the easiest way to imagine it is there's a class of people that own assets and there's a class of people that rent assets, and and I think that's going to be the really big divide in the West moving forward. It already has been for a really long time. It was landowners hundreds of years ago. That's what it was, and now it's business owners and whatever, people that own the means of production of some sort. But for the most part, you're looking at essentially people that control stuff and people that have to borrow stuff. And if you're in a perpetual state of borrowing, you're a great slave for the state. And I don't think it's necessarily designed for you to be a slave. I'm not conspiratorial like that. I don't think that there's necessarily, it probably is to some extent, but like not in the way that we're thinking. I don't think there's like necessarily this like drive to have everybody become the slave of like big corporations and BlackRocks and stuff like that. I just think that it's profitable to keep people shit and broke with their life, and so and people do it to themselves too, so it just kind of happens. Jay says Mamdani is the result of desperation, same as Trump. Both bring hope, but none bring solutions. Fucking bang on, dude, bang on. I completely agree with you. I actually think that Trump is probably a net positive. I don't know. It's hard to say net positive, but he's obviously like, pretty good compared to a lot of the options America's had recently. So I wouldn't say that Trump's like completely useless or not bringing solutions. He's just not like focusing on the real problems because he can't. He doesn't have the political capital to do it. I think that's a really big thing, right? Like he physically is not set up to be able to do it, and that's if he would even want to, because it's highly likely his own family and friends would lose out if he did restructure the economy in a way that was more representative of what the United States was designed to be. But I completely agree with you on the result, on the note of desperation. I mean, when everybody voted for Trump, it's because socialism was going a little bit too far in 2016. Actually, he was voted in end of 16. He was sworn in 17. And Mamdani is the same thing. Mamdani is the effect of just a bunch of New Yorkers that, I'm the age of the people that voted for him, like it's my age plus 10 or 20, where everybody was voting for him. And it's because, like you're a kid, you're like, I'm 24, you go through life, university, get a job, everything's so fucking unaffordable. It's actually really tricky. Like, I don't like Ben Shapiro. I think Ben Shapiro is a massive dickhead. Like he's actually like, he's just a terrible fucking person. But when he came on and he was saying like, look, like it's a reality of the United States that sometimes where you grew up is not affordable to live in anymore, he got flamed for it. And the whole idea was like, like, oh, you're a this, so you talk like that, or like MAGA has the wrong talking points, that's why Mamdani got elected, and so on and so forth. And what Shapiro was saying is, like if what Shapiro was saying is that if you can't afford to live where you grew up anymore, then you've got to follow the opportunity and find a better place to live that makes more economical sense. And the response from everyone is, fuck you, this is our country, we should be able to live where we grew up. And so, like both sides are completely correct here. This is the crazy part, right? Because like the affordability crisis wasn't supposed to happen. It wouldn't have happened if America was being America. But when America starts deviating from what it's supposed to be, and it starts becoming controlled because it is so capitalistic, and I don't know, maybe it didn't have enough safeguards, you know, or maybe it did, and it was just bound to happen anyway because the controlling class is just too powerful. I don't really know exactly what it is, but it didn't have to be this way. It wasn't this way for a long time. And, you know, so you've got a lot of people that, you know, genuinely feel entitled to be able to live there, and it makes sense why. And at the same time, that's not how the world works. It is indeed the case that if things aren't affordable, you have to go somewhere else and live somewhere else. I've done it. Everyone's done it. You know, like it's part of life. It's part of life. And so, you know, he's getting flamed for it, and I totally understand, because, you know, on one side, how the hell can you say that? You know, this is New York City. You know, and on the other side, you know, like, you're not entitled to anything. You know, especially in the United States, you're not entitled to anything. You know, like, that's not, like, the United States wasn't built on entitlement. It was built on earning your keep in the world. And the problem is it's so hard to earn it these days that everyone wants communism now instead. You know, so it was unavoidable. It was unavoidable, and it's the first of many. We're not going to see this go away. You know, these people that are not able to, you know, own assets in the asset ownership class, that group of people is not shrinking. That group of people is growing. Bernie Sanders, AOC, Newsom, Mamdani, these are their heroes. The communists are their heroes. And the communists are their heroes because capitalism has failed them. So, but it wasn't. I want to be clear. It wasn't capitalism that failed them, because we didn't have real capitalism. If we had it, we wouldn't be in this mess. Real capitalism brings everybody abundance on a scale that nobody can even imagine. This is basic economics. This is very, very straightforward. Everybody here gets this, I'm sure. We got 200 people watching. I'm sure you guys you know, get this. You know, like, it's capitalism is a huge net positive for the world. There's nothing productive that a communist society has ever brought to the world. There's nothing productive. The only thing communist societies bring to the world is suffering, pain, war, death. It is evil. It is evil. There is a reason that the United States treats communist ideology as evil and fundamentally opposed. You know, it's written in law. You know, and there is a reason for that. Communism is toxic, it's dangerous, it kills people. Yeah. GoldenEye says, Devine says, 18 to 29 age group, 78% of this group had voted for Mamdani, 67% male, 84% female. Yeah, and females are obviously going to be leaning a lot more left than males. We do see slight differences based on racial color, like skin color, and marriage. Like marriage status, and that's the same for men as well, but men are obviously a little bit more right-leaning generally. But, you know, like, communism's got no gender. You know, if everyone's fucking poor and can't afford anything, then you're gonna be stuck in this mess, regardless of gender. GoldenEye says, you can't live where you grew up, but illegals in and, you know, and this is the thing, right? Is, you know, I mean, it's the same ideology that they're voting in to fix the problem is what caused the problem. Right, I'm not saying that, you know, illegals have caused the rent affordability crisis. It's not that simple. It's probably contributed to it, but, you know, it's not the core reason at all for this. There are much more bigger systematic problems that existed from decades ago that led to where we are now, but it's not helping, you know, importing people that are not citizens, that don't need to be in countries, you know, just under the guise of we need to protect them and take care of them. It's not helping. James says, if you can't afford to live here, maybe you don't deserve to live here. From Ben Shapiro. I mean, that's what Shapiro's saying. That's what Shapiro... And deserve is a big word, right? I mean, it's a very entitled way of looking at the world because, you know, good for you, Ben. You were born into the right family with the right dollars. But, you know, I mean, I don't think that's the way to put it. But, I mean, that is how the world works. And especially a city like New York. New York is not a city, you know, for low-income people. It never really has been. I mean, it's where low-income people go for opportunity, or used to go for opportunity. But, you know, it wasn't because you wanted to stay low-income. You know, it was because you wanted to, you know, really do something. Jay says, if anything, entitlements is what got us into this mess in the first place. Europe is doing worse. Yeah, it is entitlement. It is. But, like, dude, like, at the same time, I can't sit here on the microphone and be like, okay, but these 24-year-old kids that voted Mamdani should just work harder and make more money, because it's fucking hard these days. You know what I'm saying? And, like, no one's even hiring, and it is. We're headed to some sort of socialism. I'm very curious to see how America handles it, because America, you know, being the most capitalist country in the world, or one of, is still going to have to embrace and already has, but it's going to have to embrace a much larger level of socialism now. There is going to have to be some sort of UBI. And it doesn't have to be dollars deposited into your account. It's probably not going to be that. It's probably going to be in the form of literally subsidized housing, that your rent is free or heavily paid for by the government. AI is going for college grad jobs. Absolutely. Absolutely. If you're college educated, that ain't helping very much now. So this shift we're seeing with Mamdani, I think, is going to speed up. You know, like, I got a lot of friends that are right-wing, right? Rightfully so. And, you know, like, they're like, yeah, like, J.D. Vance is definitely winning in 28, or whoever, like, some other, like, Republican is definitely, and it's, like, not even a question. I'm like, guys, like, slow down for a second. Like, first of all, if Trump doesn't somehow make Americans much wealthier than when he started, then we're like, the world is definitely going full socialist mode after this. You know, like, it's definitely going to happen if Trump doesn't get people much richer from the start of his term. And the only way I see him doing that is these markets. The only way I see him pulling this off right now is by pumping our markets, whether that's crypto or stocks or whatever. Sports betting, just all sorts of stuff like that. Just like sedentary stuff you can do on your keyboard and mouse at home as, you know, a low-class or middle-class American. You know, like, those are, like, kind of the only things that I think a lot of people are going to be left with. And that's how I can see Trump really kind of leaving a legacy this time. And he has already demonstrated that that's his priority. This is one of the big reasons I do trust in Trump. I do think he's going to, you know, like, at least result in really, really nice movements for the market. Jay says, holy shit, yeah, you're right. Absolutely, dude. Like I said, this is the only thing I think about all day, every day. I dream of this kind of thing. I eat, sleep, breathe shit. You know, crypto, stocks, the economy, everything. It's always in my head. And yeah, I think Trump is the pump president. I think he's the president of stock market gains and so on. So, you know, he's got a big focus on crypto. I don't think he's going to leave this administration without making people a lot richer. And I think that's the only realistic chance that he has, because the other side of this is just Americans saying, I want free stuff. And the Republican voters are doing the same thing. If they're invested in the market, they're just being a little bit more hands-on to get their free stuff because they're investing. But it is still essentially free money, right? I mean, it isn't, and it is. But the socialist alternative, the Newsom, Bernie, AOC, you know, kind of camp, that is firmly like, I want to do nothing. I want to smoke weed and play video games and fucking go out. And I want you to pay for my life. That's the, you know, that's kind of like, that's where a lot of the left-leaning voters are coming from, right? You know, and it might be with you know, to varying degrees, but it's always, you know, some flavor of like, I want to live my own life and I want you to help me pay for it, kind of thing. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that. I think our only chance of not seeing a lot more of that is if Republicans can get enough votes again next time, and I don't think they are going to get enough votes unless they make people rich. Realistically, you know, it looks like it's going to be something that's out of the hands of any president, you know, that's going to really start to cleanse this economy. And it's going to be a very painful cleansing. I think it's going to be really bad for a lot of people. I'm personally very worried about it. I'm not worried about things ever. This is worrying to me. This is very worrying to me. Because I don't think the world's gonna, you know, I don't think it's gonna go without a fight. You know, like I don't think it's gonna happen without a fight. I think there's gonna be riots. I think there's gonna be looting. I think there's gonna be danger and violence, and because there's just too much erosion of society right now. And, you know, on top of that, when people can't get bread, you know what I'm saying, like when people can't even eat, and then at the same time you've got the aristocrats of the world just sitting really, really nice, and, you know, like 10-course meals, champagne, caviar, fucking yachts and PJs, and it's gonna, you know, like it's gonna boil over. And I don't think it's going to happen now. I don't think it's going to happen soon. I don't think it's going to happen under Trump. But it does look like something is kind of going on here, and it is actually very worrying. I think it's very worrying. James says UBI brought to you via stable coins on your government crypto app. I mean, it makes sense that that's how they do it. It makes sense that's how they do it. I think it's probably going to be more in the form of, I mean, I could even see that when landlords start getting driven out and institutions buy, that there's some sort of like special arrangement between those institutions and the government, bearing in mind that the same people who run the institution and the same people who run the government are going to be best friends, effectively. And so, you know, it'll effectively be like someone in the government will have a fucking brother-in-law, and that guy will be the one owning the properties, and they'll be like working together to make the legislation. It's always the way it's been running. The US government runs like this to a massive extent, by the way. You'd be shocked. Even inside of the White House right now, this is very clear with the Trump family, but, you know, inside of like state governments as well. Like Gavin Newsom comes from basically an aristocrat family that, you know, founded a lot of the you know, wealth in California and contributed massively to it. You know, and he's related to Pelosi by marriage. So you know, like it's not just like it's not just an everywhere thing except for America. It's everywhere, including America. How hard is it to move to Dubai as an American? It's extremely easy to move to Dubai, but you won't get the tax benefits. America will still tax you wherever you go in the world. Bitcoin mass adoption would fix a lot of problems, but that would help the middle class, and the suits don't like that. Yeah, and I don't think that Bitcoin's going to do it anyway. I think that if there is some sort of mass adoption of crypto, Bitcoin, blockchain technology, whatever, probably that's going to happen, but it's going to happen in a way that the banks approve of it. There is still going to be money to be made for everybody, but probably, you know, like with everything, most people will kind of miss it and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I'm seeing from all those particular... from all those kind of particular angles there. But ladies and gents, I'm probably going to be closing this stream off here. It has been a beautiful one. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Like I said, we've got our BroFi VIP pre-launch. If you've enjoyed this stream, you're going to love what we're putting out inside of there. We have a very active community here with a lot of people making some pretty impressive profits throughout this market so far. I think we only launched like 2 weeks ago, and it's already been pretty good. So well worth checking out. And we do have our next weekly live show in about 23 hours from now. It's like exactly 23 hours from now. So if you do want to get yourself inside, then this is going to be the way to do that, by clicking on the link at the top of the description here and get yourself inside. We've seen incredible results. I plan on making way more, and yeah, it's direct access to me here as well. Like I said, it's growing, but it's still small enough for me to have a lot of one-on-one time with members. I mean, I've even been DMing members and stuff like that, back and forth for a while. So it's been really, really nice. All right, guys, thank you all very much for tuning in. You know what to do. Smash up the like, subscribe, tick the bell, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.